We start the meditation with thoughts of goodwill, because we want to think about where we're going with this. We're not here just to enjoy the present moment. We're here to become more sensitive to the fact that what we're doing to create the present moment also has an impact that goes on into the future. As we assemble the present moment out of the raw material from the past, we're also creating more raw material that's going to pass on to right now, the next moment, next week, next month, our next life. And so we try to develop goodwill, together with an attitude that the Buddha calls compunction, realizing that we really do care about where we're going. This is the opposite of apathy. Apathy says, well, I'm just going to do what I want. I don't care where it goes. Whoever's in the future is not me. That kind of attitude. The Buddha says that we're all on the path someplace. But all too often we don't know what kind of path we're on. So it's good to be able to step out of that daily life maelstrom. Get some peace, get some quiet. Get more sensitive to what's going on in the present moment so we can see it. This is what we're doing. This is where it's going. When the Buddha was teaching his son, one of the first things he told him is, before you act, and this can be bodily action or verbal action or mental action, ask yourself, what do you hope to accomplish? What will be the result? So already he's telling you that your actions go someplace. The Buddha's basic insight in his awakening. Sometimes he would express it as a principle of causality, sometimes he would elaborate on that in terms of dependent co-arising or the Four Noble Truths. But it all comes down to the fact he saw that we're going someplace. And all too often we're headed towards fire. We're headed towards things that we don't want because we don't see the implications of what we're doing. So it takes some time to be quiet. Get in touch with your breath. Get in touch with how the breath energy feels in the body. Because that will be one indication, as we said today, of when something unskillful is going to take place in the mind. The breath gets out of whack. You feel disturbed. You end up thinking, I've got to do something to get this out of my system. And in cases like that, you're so concerned with getting it out of your system that you don't think about, well, what are the long-term consequences of what I'm going to do to get it out? So as we work with the breath energy, we're giving ourselves a tool not to become slaves to that sense that we just got to get it out of the system. To learn how to breathe through patterns of tension, breathe through unskillful ways of breathing, unskillful rhythms of breathing. At the very least, calm the body down. And then you can look more carefully at the mind, without that sense of urgency that you've got to do something right now. In this way you have a larger sense of what the possibilities are, a calmer way of looking at where you're going, so that those impulses don't take over. And that you're more in charge of your emotions, you're more in charge of your thoughts. The Buddha doesn't make a clear distinction between thoughts and emotions. Emotions are basically thoughts that have gotten more deeply into the breath body, in your sense of your physical body. And in that sense, they often seem more real than just a passing thought. But your emotions, like your thoughts, are fabrications, are things you put together. And they go someplace. There are emotions to be cultivated and emotions not to be cultivated. Just like there are thoughts and feelings and perceptions to be cultivated and not. But when they're pushing on you, it's hard not to allow yourself to be pushed by them. Unless you've got some training in the mind. Training for stepping outside of these things, training for breathing through them, seeing how you put them together and how you can put them, if they're putting together in an unskillful way, you can put them together in a more skillful way. Take them apart. Use fabrication. The Buddha says there are three kinds. There's bodily fabrication, which is the way you breathe. Verbal fabrication, this is how you talk to yourself. He describes it as directed thought and evaluation. In other words, you focus on a topic and then you make comments on it. And then there's mental fabrication, feelings and perceptions. Feelings are the feeling tones of pleasure and pain, neither pleasure nor pain. Perceptions are the labels by which you identify things. And if you begin to see that you've got an unskillful emotion, you can ask yourself, well, how am I breathing? How am I talking to myself? What are the perceptions that are driving this? What images do I have in the back of my mind? Can I change those? And this, of course, requires that you have a place in your awareness where you can step out of the thought. And being with the breath helps supply you with that. When you get used to having as your default the sense that wherever there's any tension or tightness in the breath, you're going to breathe right through it. You're going to allow it to relax. That helps to pull you out. Then when you've pulled out of the unskillful breathing, then you can look at the unskillful verbal fabrication and the unskillful mental fabrication with a little bit more calm and a larger sense of, well, does this take me where I want to go? And where do I want to go? And so the Buddha provides us with new ways of thinking, new ways of directing our thoughts and evaluating things, new ways of perceiving things. Because our emotions have their reasons. Now the unskillful emotions will have some bad reasons, but they can make them sound convincing. This is why it's useful to adopt the Buddha's worldview about how long your actions can have results. Because there are many things in life where you can see that you could gain some profit in the terms of this lifetime, but it would be for your long-term harm and suffering when you think in terms of other lifetimes that are to come. That changes the calculation inside, that can change the range of what's allowed as a good reason and what's not allowed as a good reason inside. Now, I do know a lot of people who say, well, I don't like to think about future lifetimes because it's going to get in the way of my enjoying or fully appreciating the present moment. But that kind of thinking ignores the fact that we're not just sitting here on the receiving side of things. We're more active. We are doing things in the present moment to shape the present moment that will shape the future moment. So our purpose in life is not to simply be the self as the consumer, just taking in the pleasures we can find. We're also the self as the producer. And you want to produce well. You want to produce quality products, quality thoughts, quality words, quality actions. You can think of the mind as like a factory, churning out things all the time. And if the mind is not trained, then it's like a factory where there's no quality control. The chairman of the factory doesn't really know what's going on. When you sit here and meditate, you get to see the whole factory. You get to look at, what am I turning out? What can I do to have some more quality control inside? Because the things you produce are the things you're going to have to live in. And of course you have an impact on the people around you as well. So as we meditate, we're not just here being. You want to step outside of the doer, so you can watch what the doer is doing. But we're not here just to sort of be in the present moment. We inhabit the present moment so we can see, what are you doing? Why you're doing it. And when the present moment is a more comfortable place like this, then you're more likely to create good things with your thoughts and your words and your deeds. You're coming from a better place. You're coming from a position of well-being. You're coming from a position of strength. You're coming from a position where you're not feeling threatened. You're coming from a position where you can have a sense that you can be in charge. After all, the breath is yours. Nobody else can sense your breath the way you do. They can see you breathing, but they have no idea of how you feel the breath. The same with your thoughts and your words. They can hear your words and guess at your thoughts. But you're the only one who directly experiences what's going on in your mind. So this is your territory. And as we work with the breath, and we work settling in so that you can fill the whole body with your awareness. Fill the whole body with a sense of well-being. You're taking this part of reality, which is yours, that nobody else can interfere unless you allow them to interfere. And you're making it a good place to be, so that when you start creating things, you're coming from a position of strength, wisdom, clarity. And then you can augment this position of clarity with what you've learned about right view from the Buddha and his disciples. Realizing that you have many potentials here. And given your wide range of potentials for finding happiness, what kind of happiness would you like to work toward? The choice is yours. And through meditation, you're teaching yourself the skills that allow you to make those choices with more and more discretion, with more wisdom. That would lead to your true well-being and to the true well-being of others. So that your meditation is an expression of your goodwill for yourself and for the world around you, and for worlds yet to come.